When president of the Board of Trustees of the Saranac Lake Free Library, we conducted a capital fund campaign to improve services for our community. Here are the results. Once upon a time, the specimens that are behind me and all around me in this walk-through museum for the Dickert Wildlife Museum were in Edwin Guggenheim's great camp living room. He like a lot of gentlemen of that era, had a great deal of hunting and fishing memorabilia mounted by taxidermists, and his favorite taxidermist was from Saranac Lake, and Charles Dickert. When he decided to give up his great camp, he looked for a new home for his collection, and eventually in the late 60s built a wing on the Saranac Lake Free Library to house this collection. The trustees of the museum were the Greens, who are the grandchildren of Charles Dickert. There were a few pieces added, and this was a two-story museum that was protected by a trust developed by Guggenheim lawyers, which tells you it was probably pretty tight. It was. In the meantime, the board of the Saranac Lake Free Library realized that in order to meet the needs of the community, it needed to develop a children's room, it needed to find new space and put in an elevator. It needed to make the collection of the library more available to the public. The board of the Saranac Lake Free Library decided that it was time to look at how it could expand the library to include more staff area and more space and separate space for children in the library. The Dickert collection was very enticing because of its two stories. We were pretty bound by land. Our footprint is tight, but we also knew that if we went outside the village that we wouldn't get the community support that we needed to raise that $250,000. So we negotiated with the Greens to get the top half of this two-story museum, and by doing that, directly above this is a children's room that it just has made such a difference in our library and the service to the community. We put in an elevator to make it a lot more accessible, and other improvements to our famous Adirondack collection. But this museum, in order to get the concessions that we needed from the Greens for the museum space, was completely reorganized. The museum had been open 96 hours a year, and it looked very much like Guggenheim's living room. Well, now it's a walk-through museum that highlights just some wonderful Adirondack and other specimens. Has an Adirondack guide boat, which is the guide boats are very unique. They were developed in this area for the recreational opportunities that in our shallow lakes, and it really is now open any time that the library itself is open. That which to us makes quite a difference. Hi, now I'm in the Adirondack Collection, which is the William Chapman White Historical Collection of the Saranac Lake Free Library, and we are very proud of this collection. It includes memorabilia from our friend Robert Louis Stevenson, who spent a winter here, and his cottage is actually open as a museum. But the library has an excellent collection of resources about Robert Louis Stevenson. He spent winter here recovering from tuberculosis, and while he sat at his desk and smoked constantly, and there must have been a connection, he finished several essays and most of the Master of Ballantrae. So we're kind of proud of that connection and what the library has done to preserve those artifacts and the historical artifacts from our very interesting history. The capital campaign made a difference for this collection by increasing the environmental controls. It's now well air conditioned, the only part of the library that is air conditioned in the summertime, and the humidity controls are ever so much better. We're very glad that we can preserve the photographs, which our curator, Michelle Tucker, is digitizing, and every week there is one in the local paper, and that which is just fascinating to those of us who weren't here very long or have been here their whole lives. And so the collection and its artifacts and its accessibility are one of the parts of the library that we are very proud of. Very often authors who are setting their books in the Adirondacks will come in and research. There are credits in the front of many a book of history and books of historical fiction, and even modern day. Nelson DeMille set his wildfire book in the Adirondacks and spent a little time here researching to make sure that all the details were right. So we're very proud that we have this collection and that this collection is well maintained. And some of the artifacts go right back to the days of tuberculosis cure cottages, to opening the Adirondacks for hunting, fishing, and recreation, and for the tourism industry that's ours today. And it's just a terrific collection, and we appreciate the fact that we do have this open and accessible for the public. Now we're in one of my favorite places in the library. This is our Eleanor Price Children's Room, and this was formerly the upper level of the Guggenheim Museum, the Dickert Collection. We were very lucky to be able to get this space for our students and the children of our community. It's very active after school, it's very active for home schoolers, and it allows the adults to have some space of their own and the children to be able to be kids, which is what we want them to do. This is named after Eleanor Price and her family. They wanted to create more reading in our community and saw this as an opportunity to do that. We developed a reading challenge, All Trails Lead to the Library, where the students in the area schools kept track of and received money from the Prices, matched by the Prices, for all of the pages that they read. And there were footprints all over the library that looked like Adirondack hiking boots. It was a great deal of fun. The students have ownership of this area, and what it provides for our community is invaluable. There used to be geese flying up there up in these eaves, and now instead there are children on the floor crawling around looking at big books. There are students using a computer that's available just for them and set up just for them, and we've got a collection that is strong and makes the students have the resources. Allows our youngest community members to have a story time area that's their own, and we can still serve the rest of the community through computers, reading areas, CDs, DVDs, the internet, all of the important parts of a public library today that mean that we've seen a great increase in foot traffic, just like most other public libraries And it's done gracefully, thanks to the community and the school children who raised the money for the Eleanor Price Reading Room.